it's your first time watching this and you've never seen anything that I've ever done when it comes to weekly webinars or virtual workshops or even in-person masterminds, I want to tell you that I'm an agency owner of the past. I had an agency, I had about 3 agencies altogether totally. One is the dental agency that I ran. And then I joined Rob and Alex with the high level agency, which originally was Innovate Fast, which we focused on medical practices as well, more on the med spa side. We scaled that well past 100K. And then also I started an automotive agency, which I sold and got rid of my shares in it because of my interest with high level in 2020. All to tell you that I've built 3 different types of agencies. The original one, the dental one, was very much a boutique style, $4,000 to $5,000 a month type of retainer. The high level agency, which was the original Innovate Fast agency, is a white label agency, obviously catering to almost about 700 to 800 clients today. And the automotive agency, which was very much niched and just focused on lift kits. I went into automotive just focusing on lift kits. So we were slanging $7,000, $8,000 lift kits left and right with my partner Lewis, and that's what I did. All to tell you that this whole agency game is pretty hard. Okay, don't be fooled by somebody just saying scale to 100K monthly very easily. That's not realistic. There's a lot of different things that you have to have in place. Also, you have to have a team that you can trust. In addition, you have to have the right processes in place. And I wanted to share with you what those things are. So in the month of May, if you guys are new to this, every single month we pick out a theme topic around agency owners. This month, we're just simply focused on scaling, ad agency scaling particularly. All to tell you, this is the first session of the month, okay? Mainly because the first week of May, we had our in-person mastermind. The second week, we had the fabulous Josh Nelson jump in, and we did a virtual workshop. So this is actually the first session that I'm doing with high level, just all together for your agency owners. Scaling to 100K monthly with your ad agency, okay? There are 5 total pillars that you must have in place. And these must be built out in this chronological order, okay? The 5 pillars are demand foundation. I'm going to explain what every single one of these are. And by the way, pretty soon, as soon as I go through some of these points, we'll go ahead and allow you to unmute yourself if you're in the Zoom group, in the Zoom webinar, and we can really go back and forth. And I want to help, align every single detail that I can think of in scaling any businesses that I've ever done. Okay. So first things first, the demand foundation has to be created. And I'll explain what that is. The second thing is process and alignment, meaning how things are delivered. Okay. The third thing is channel gating, figuring out the right way for people to come in as a buyer, okay? The fourth thing is right-sizing your volume when it comes to prospecting, depending on the industry that you're going after, and also operationalizing the sales component. Now, let's talk about the very first thing, okay? Demand foundation. Who wants your offer and why? That's the first thing you have to figure out when it comes to setting your agency up for success when it comes to at least 100K or more per month, okay? You have to understand and figure out the basic economics of your services and products, meaning who wants your offer and why do they want those offers? The easiest way for you to figure this out, guys and gals, okay, is to start talking to the prospects that are not buying from you. Okay, let's say somebody says no to you. Let's say somebody cancels on you. Let's say somebody jumps on an onboarding, but they fail out for whatever reason. You want to reach back out to them, do a quick phone call if you can, and just simply ask, hey, Scott, I appreciate you jumping in, spending time with me. I'm really curious of where the misalignment was. Was I too strong on my tonality? Did my offers, did it not make any sense? Were the wrong price attached to the wrong offer? Was it the price? Was it the timeline of how quickly I would have onboarded you? You want to really figure out where is the market sitting when it comes to your offers. If you don't have this figured out, you cannot scale your business, because you will only scale based on random activities that are just working out here and there, but it's not the right activity that you should focus on scaling. Okay. Now, the cheapest way for you to figure out the demand foundation that I'm talking about is testing with organic methods before running paid ads. I've said this multiple times, y'all. You have to run paid ads at some point, and that is going to be one of the biggest ways you scale your business to 100K a month. It has to be with paid ads. But a lot of people do paid ads by just hoping and gambling at the platforms without true confirmation of that offer. Okay. So pay attention to that. Don't just jump into paid ads. You have to confirm what your products and services are without running paid ads. You have to initially run it through email marketing, LinkedIn messages, Facebook messages, your meetings that you go to like BNI, Chamber of Commerce, all these different places organically. Why? Because you're going to save a lot of money, even though it's a bit more time consuming. Okay. But you're going to save a lot of money just ironing out your offers. Everybody with me so far? Give me a 1 if this is resonating with you. This is not overly complicated, but a lot of times, sometimes when we listen to this and really reconfigure your thought process around the strategy of why something's not working, you have to look at it this way. Going back to the basics of your business, which is who wants my service and why. Okay. Give me a 1 if this is resonating with you for pillar 1. Okay.
Chat's turned off.
What was that?
The chat is turned off.
Yes, yeah, there is a link there, guys. There is a Facebook streaming link. I would like for you to interact in the Facebook streaming, so that way people in the group are also seeing that we're doing this webinar, and that's intentional, whoever said that. But here's what happens. The second pillar, okay? Let's go back to the pillars, right? These are the 5 pillars that I think you should have in place. The first one is demand foundation. The second one is process alignment. So let's talk about process alignment. Now, depending on where you are, okay, if you're under 10K, the worst thing you can do is to go figure out your process alignment. Just because you over deliver on a client doesn't mean that client or those case studies are going to go do sales activities for you and bring in new business. You have to stay focused on sales. You're not going to scale just from results. Okay. So if you're under 10K, focus on selling more and more and more. That way you have the right resources to build the right team in order for you to fulfill everything at full 100%. If you have about 50 to 60% of your fulfillment ironed out and configured and at least can get you to the results that you're promising your customers and your prospects, you are good to go. You don't need to focus on fulfillment any more than what you have, because guess what? When you get to that 25, 30K mark, you're going to have to redo your processes. When you get to that 50 to 60K mark, you're going to have to redo your processes again. And the next threshold that I always see is that 80K mark. At that point, you're trying to figure out whether you go with contractors or you're trying to go with your first round of employees. Guess what happens when your first round of employees come in? They change up the process, because originally most of these processes are built around the entrepreneur who started the business. So why would you focus on all these different processes and SOPs when it's too early? Stay focused on sales. Okay. Now, here's a question that I would like to lead with when it comes to process alignment. And what I mean by this is your fulfillment process. Okay. How quickly can you deliver the promise that you're making on sales, right? So how do we figure this out? Couple of questions that I want to present to you that's going to help you answer this. What is the maximum amount of onboardings you can do in one day? Where do you feel like your business will break? Right? Some of you, that number is like 3 or 4. If you had 3 or 4 brand new clients that are jumping into your business, it'll probably create a lot of stress. But it's not just mentally, your process, right? Emails are flying around, Slack messages flying around. One person got sold something else, another person got sold something else. All these different variations will start catching up to you really quickly as soon as you onboard a good amount of clients in a small amount of time. Okay, so the first question you want to ask yourself, what is the maximum amount of onboardings you can do in one day? When it comes to SaaS, it's going to be a lot higher volume versus agency services. In the agency services world, you should be able to at least onboard about 4 clients before you hit that per day, before you hit that 100K mark. That's a good threshold on fulfillment for you to know. Okay, now your company, your business is all valued by the amount of recorded processes you have in place, not the quantity of experts you have. Right? You can have 10 leadership seats and 5 account managers, and they're all experts, but if you don't have any recorded processes in-house, your company is almost at no value. Especially when you look at like mergers and acquisitions, guess what they do? They start measuring the strength of those recorded processes, right? They look at your development, they look at fulfillment of how many ad buyers do you have and what do they do? What is their SOPs, right? They look at the way your account managers are functioning. They look at the way your project managers are functioning. Are they able to walk in Monday morning and not be given any instructions, but they know what they're supposed to do that week? Right? Are your processes that buttoned down? Now, what are the SOPs you have to have in place to ensure that your promises are made? And this question is for somebody who's starting out. If you're starting out and you have less than 3 or 4 clients, you don't need too many elaborate processes. Your SOPs are going to change. Okay. Now, the last question I want to leave you with when it comes to fulfillment is, can your fulfillment process run without you, as long as there are the right SOPs in place, right? A lot of you get stuck in the fulfillment component and you're waddling back and forth between sales and fulfillment, okay? And that's a pretty dangerous place to be as an agency owner, okay? It won't last long because something's got to give somewhere, and you're gonna have to select between sales and fulfillment. And guess what happens with most agency owners? You get so acclimated to fulfilling and sales, you start convincing yourself that you're good at both. And when I ask people, hey, are you good at sales or fulfillment? They tell me, well, I'm kind of good at both. I hear that all the time. In reality, you're probably not good at either, right? You want to have somebody who, if you're one of those technical oriented guys and gals, just focus on the fulfillment component and let somebody else handle the sales for you. Build partnerships, build a franchise model, bring in a sales agency that just handles the sales component, bring in a business partner that handles the sales for you. Okay. Now, if you're the opposite, kind of like myself, and if you're more sales oriented, I had to have white label partners always in all my agencies, right? I had to have white label partners to fulfill things, or I had to have business partners who are better at fulfillment than I am. Okay. Now, before we go to the third one, give me a 2 in the comments, guys, if this is resonating with you so far, right? First thing's demand foundation. Second thing is process alignment, figuring out what is the maximum amount of people you can onboard in one day. Give me a 2 if this is resonating with you in the comments, and I'm keeping track of the comments. Let's see here. I see a ton of you that are watching. I appreciate your interaction. This helps me stay energized and keep it going. Okay, perfect. Now, the third thing that you have to pay attention to as agency owners that are wanting to scale to 100K a monthly or longer or more, you have to look at channel gating. What that means is, in all your efforts of the way people are finding you, like Josh Nelson's workshop, we talked about, converting an ecosystem of just inbound leads, right? When you look at these inbound leads, are the right people showing up to buy your offers? And that's the ultimate question that you have to answer with channel gating. Okay, so let's dive a little deeper on what this really means. You have to have the right traffic channels that are needed to attract the proper avatar in your industries. I'm a strong proponent of picking an industry. I'm a strong proponent of only having one or two offers all together. I don't care if you're doing SaaS either. You should just have one SaaS offer. All the other offers should just help you point to the right offers. They should be just used as a marketing mechanism, nothing more than that. So the less offers you have, the less confused your avatar and your prospects are going to be. Okay. So, for example, when I was in the dental space, I remember dentists, they would hang out in Facebook groups. They were very active in Facebook. But in the automotive space, guess what? They weren't that active on Facebook. They were more active on, things like Yelp and Angie's List and Alignable and local BNIs and other channels. So it didn't really make sense for me to go all in on Facebook groups to attract automotive owners, right? The few automotive Facebook groups that I saw, they were selling parts. Random people just flipping parts, nothing else outside of that, right? So you have to really pay attention to where your clients are hanging out, your prospects are hanging out, and attract them from the right buckets in the internet, and then bring them inbound as long as you have the right offers in place. Now, how will you know? Let's say Nathan Harrison there, right? Nathan, what's your industry? What industry are you in, Nathan? I'm just going to give you a quick example.
Med spas.
Oh, perfect. Nobody else is doing med spas, Nathan. You're the only one, just in case if you didn't know. I'm being sarcastic, but guess what? They're very active on Facebook groups. They're, really active on Instagram, right? They all have to show what their work looks like on Instagram. And TikTok also is a pretty interesting space now, right? But if you try to attract med spa people on LinkedIn, you're gonna get the runaround, because guess what? They just don't have enough time to keep up with LinkedIn, and it's like an additional bonus channel for them, right? So with that in mind, guess what? You're not going to put all your organic efforts and all these different things to test out your offers in those channels that just doesn't make any sense for you in your specific industry. So pay attention to that in that kind of a sense. Now, just because you attract them doesn't mean, Nathan, you should talk to them, right? So how do we do this? There are two ways to figure out if the right active buyers are interested in your offers. One is automations, reminders within the workflows. You guys are all high-level geniuses, much more than I am. So you guys can figure that out. You can filter them through the technology component, right? You can send them messages, remind them what they're in for, what is the context of the meeting. How many of you guys send out meeting agendas before a prospect decides to jump in? What is the perception of the meeting if you sent out a meeting agenda? It's a serious meeting. It's somebody, we're planning on achieving something together, right? So for those of you that don't have any inspiration on reminders, don't just throw out some reminders with some times on it. Explain to them, this is what you're going to be discussing without being too salesy. Hey, I like for you to cover how you're going to get vampire facials much more than you have ever done in the last 2 months. I also would like to cover how your front desk, sales activities could be much more streamlined. I'm also going to show you how you can get 50 to 100 new reviews next month. Like, you have to figure out a way to do your agenda based on your industry. But first way is automations, reminders, or workflow. The second way is the hard way, setting the appointment manually on a phone call, right? For you to get to 100 grand a month, the first sales activity that you're going to essentially take yourself out of, outside of prospecting, of course, is appointment setting. And that's the most perfect way you're going to figure out channel gating. Okay. Give me a 1 or 2 in the comments if you have an appointment setter. How many of you guys have appointment setters today? Meaning you're in a world where people are simply just, the ton of inbound leads are coming in, and you have somebody else handling those appointments to be verified. How many of you guys and gals are at that point? A few of you. I see a few comments here. I've got my Facebook page group, the group on, so I can see that. Okay, I see a few people. Okay, perfect. Before you go hire a closer, before you run paid ads, get an appointment setter. Why is that so important? Because organically, the type of leads that are going to be coming in are not going to be as strong as your leads that'll come in from paid ads, right? Your paid ads leads, if it's done right, should force the right people to come in if your marketing message is right, if you're catering to the right audiences, and you have the right numbers in place. Organic marketing is typically a little bit more vague because guess what? There's a lot of outbound activity that's happening and you don't have a lot of authority just yet, right? But early on, what I would do is if you break out of that 15K mark a month, go ahead and just get an appointment setter. Okay. And what that's going to do is manually allow you to get data from your appointment setters in order for you to prime up your workflows and your automations. That way, guess what you can do with your appointment setters after a while? You can promote them into an actual sales position if you automate a lot of their activities. If not, no worries. You at least know the environment that you're creating for sales. You have the right people that are coming in through those calendars. Okay. You guys with me so far? Let me know if I'm going too fast. Let me look at the comments here. Okay, perfect. The fourth thing. So let me just do a quick review of all the pillars, right? Pillar 1 is demand foundation. Make sure somebody wants your service and why. You have to have that in place. Process alignment, right? The big question is how many people can you onboard in one day? Channel gating. Are the right people showing up on your calendar, right? The fourth item that I want to talk about is right sizing the volume, right? What I mean by this is making sure, from a baseball analogy, right? Making sure you have enough at bats to hit your monthly goals, right? How many of you guys are familiar with the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, right? It's a really, really popular book in the marketing world. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I recommend you read it. And one of the biggest takeaways for me is the volume is the problem. It's not the skill typically in a lot of scenarios, right? Remember, even when you get to like 30, 40, 50, 60K, you don't need to outsource sales. You as the agency owner, you can handle sales quite a bit. Most people make the mistake of hiring and outsourcing sales way too early. And they deal with a sales team problem, which is completely different than an agency fulfillment problem, an agency prospecting problem, okay? So they usually bite off something they can't chew, okay? So, but for you to be successful as a closer for yourself, you have to have enough at-bats. And when they asked Chet Holmes about this, Chet Holmes said, you know what? The biggest difference that I see with the best closers versus the closers that are not that good is the best closers know which leads are the hottest. They understand how to measure the temperatures of the leads into the active sales buying cycle, right? The other is the best closers had a whole lot more volume versus the ones that didn't, right? The best closers are dealing with 50, 60 potential prospects any given time, where The guys that are just surviving they have maybe 5 or 6 total leads a week that they're hoping that somebody's going to close. That's not the way you look at it. You have to have the right amount of volume before you can outsource sales, right? So at this point, guess what's happened, right? We have confirmed demand with the first pillar. We have confirmed and figured out a process of, synchronized fulfillment with the second pillar. And the third pillar is making sure the wrong person doesn't jump into your calendar, so you have appointment setters by then. And the fourth pillar is the right sizing of the volume. So at this point, here's what you want to pay attention to. You want to make sure that you're not over dependent on one traffic channel. Let's say, going back to Nathan Harrison's analogy, we said med spa, right? Just because we know that more than 50 to 60% of med spa owners are on Instagram doesn't mean he puts all his eggs in one basket and just focuses on Instagram. That's a very slippery slope for him to build a sales team, right? Instead, you want to make sure you have the strongest presence there, but take on a more omnipresent approach to make sure you have Facebook ads running, LinkedIn, email marketing, and you really have to move into a omnipresent channel, omnipresent business brand building, right? So you have to have new audiences that are coming in, automations that are curating them, potentially turning those and identifying those prospects. And then you start showing the proof of who you are before they can come in through the front doors of your sales calendar. So here's the biggest question that you have to ask for yourself. If you got nothing out of this webinar, guys, I want you to stop writing, pause for a quick second. Take a look at this slide. This is a 100 grand a month plus formula. Can you answer if this is happening in your agency today? Do you have case studies that are turning into leads organically, right? From those leads organically, can you turn those into appointments? From those appointments, can you curate enough demos? At the point of where you're starting to get about 2 to 3 demos a day, guys, that's when you turn on your paid ads. At that point, you're usually around 12 to 15K mark, and you're like, man, I'm doing everything right now. I cannot get myself out of this hole. I'm fulfilling one side, I'm doing sales on one side. And that's where you're going to be, around that 12 to 15K mark. At that point, you turn on paid ads. Guess why? Because you have to sell at a very quick ratio in order for you to offset appointment setters or your closers, depending on what you want to do. If you're a fulfillment type of guy or a gal, guess what you have to have? Early on in your process, you have to have enough case studies built out with results. So you do have to have a little bit of sales activities going for you to get to about 5 case studies. I'm not saying that's what you need. You need at least, 3 strong case studies, or 4 average case studies, or 5 case studies that somebody can at least recognize, right? If you're at that point, you have enough ammo and proof in the pudding to go get a sales partner, right? But take a look at this, right? You have demos that are happening, and then those have to turn into customers. What's the difference between a customer and a client? Customer is someone that buys from you just because they bought from you, typically considered to be a one-off sale. A client is somebody who decides to buy from you on an ongoing basis, right? The cool thing about SaaS, it gets you clients. It doesn't just get you customers. Some of you are fancy enough to turn your SaaS into a high ticket, all the stuff. I know, guys, I know, I get it. You want to sell your $5,000 DBR. That's cool. But at that point, they're just a customer. When you back them into a SaaS plan, they turn into a client. Okay, so take a look at this slide. Do you have enough case studies that turn into leads, that turn into appointments, that turn into demos, that turn into customers, then eventually clients? Now, a lot of you are asking, oh, do I have to have a demo? Do I have to have an appointment? Do the work that's required for you to have enough proof in the pudding before you build out a team. You cannot just go throw money at something and just scale to 100K that easily. You'll have problems arising on all kinds of different fronts based on how you chronologically do this. So real quick, the 5 pillars that I'm talking about today, guys, is demand foundation, process alignment, channel gating, and right sizing the volume of appointments. I promise you, when you get to number 4, there will be nobody on your calendar that you can count on. You'll go organically, you'll go from having like 8, 9 appointments organically, and then all of a sudden just 2. Why? Because you have an appointment setter that's going through questions or questionnaire, or some of you are fancy enough to put up a survey and a form and start gating that way. Either way, as soon as you ask them to raise your hands if they really want to buy something from you, right, versus free, you'll see the appointments go down. So at that point, you have to elaborate enough channels, enough volume organically, as well as paid ads and everything else all in place. If you don't have those things cracked, if you don't have paid ads cracked, there's absolutely no point in bringing in a closer. Okay, so the 5th thing that I want to share with you is operationalizing the sales. When should you remove yourself from sales? Okay, I lean towards, after building 3 agencies now, I promise you, if your tickets are around $1,000 to $2,000 a month, okay? And I'm specifically, this webinar, I'm specifically talking to ad agency owners. I'm not talking to you SaaS agency owners on this. I'm specifically talking to ad agency owners, okay? I truly think you can get to 50 to 60K a month before you feel the pain of sales appointments. Meaning you have to wake up, you got 8 demos today, every single day for 5 days in a row. That's when you decide, okay, I have enough volume to bring in my first closer. Why do I say this? Few reasons of why I say this. No one can sell your product the way you can. Nobody cares about your business the way you care about it. You cannot expect somebody else to come in at 15, 20, or even 50% commission to care about your business the way you care about it. So guess what? They don't typically have the same drive and tenacity on sales. You will typically see closers doing worse than yourself in many instances. But how do we manage this? So in the agency world, guess what? Like, you don't have the luxury of bringing on top level salespeople. The great top level salespeople, they're busy selling 100K a month on just one product. They don't have time to sell $2,000 products, right? They don't care for that. They're not excited for that. So you have to attract somebody who's typically early in their sales career, or bring in a business partner, which is what I've done in the past, to handle fulfillment or sales for you. So they care enough about your business and they're at 50% stake, right? And to me, 50% of watermelon is better than 100% of the grapes. It's okay to bring in a partner if it's the right alignment. I truly believe in partnerships. I now don't do any business without a partner almost. I can go further with the right partners versus by myself. And I've learned it 4 or 5 different times. So that's my personal bias. But guess what? Some of you don't feel comfortable like that, right? Right? Maybe you don't feel like you bring something to the table for a partner. Either way, you're not going to find amazing salespeople in the agency world in order for you to be able to replace yourself. So here's the way you have to look at it from a bandwidth perspective. Why do agencies still hire salespeople? Well, typically 1 or 2 or even 3 of those closers may equate out to what you would do in sales in one day. And that's totally okay, as long as your volume is there. The problems happen when you have 2 closers and they don't have enough appointments. So if you can drive up enough volume that is around the confirmed demand that you have and the processes are built to fulfill, you can bring in a closer or two. I typically recommend two so they compete with each other, and you're creating a very positive and competitive sales environment, and you want to reward them for that. But is this making sense? Are you guys with me so far? Desmond says yes. Okay. Nathan says yes. Jeff says yes. Okay. So don't be afraid to hire salespeople. Just know one or two of those salespeople and their bandwidth is going to equate out to what you would do all the way up until about 60, 70K mark, right? So let's do a quick recap before we do Q&A, right? Or at least hear from everybody else. 5 pillars that I think that can take you to 100K. Demand. First thing's demand. If nobody wants your product, you cannot force the market to continue buying your product. So here's a problem. Some of you have sold $20,000, $30,000 worth of your products that doesn't have a lot of demand. You're just good at sales where you have convinced a couple of people in your industry or some prospects to just jump in because they buy because of you. They buy you, not the product. So that's why I truly think you have to talk to those prospects and ask, why did you buy my product? They'll tell you, Paulson, like, I really think you're a trustworthy guy and I just trust my marketing stuff with you. I have no idea what you're going to do for me. And that's a very common denominator early on in your business, okay? So talk to your prospects, make sure they understand the actual fulfillment and there's a reason why they purchased. Second thing, making sure people can fulfill the promises you're making. Again, the 10K fulfillment, the 30K fulfillment, the 60K fulfillment, the 80K fulfillment are all different SOPs. You don't need to build massive SOPs thinking that's going to take you all the way to 100K. It's not. As soon as you bring in your first project manager, which is the first person you should hire, I would assume, then an account manager, then an ad buyer, then an operations person, like these people, every single one of those times that you bring in somebody, they're going to change up those SOPs drastically. So there's no need for you to build out this massive thing. For those of you that are under a 10K per month, okay, focus on sales, not fulfillment. Get your fulfillment all the way up to maybe 40, 50%. It doesn't matter. None of us have kept our first clients. Even if you provided amazing service that you think that you're providing, guess what? They're gonna cancel. So what do you really have to do? You have to focus on sales so you can build up a team in order to fulfill better and quicker and easier. And your processes, like if you look at Josh Nelson, right? Josh Nelson's like a 400K a month plus. He's sending out flowers and strawberries and photography and videography in the first 72 hours. Those are not reasonable things in your SOPs for you to compete with. Take a bite out of what you can chew at that 10K mark, focus on sales. The third thing is channel gating, making sure the right people are coming through to raise their hands and say, you know what, Paulson, I'm interested in buying from you. Then the fourth thing, right? After the appointment setters are cranking out, qualifying these leads, now, having the right people in your calendar is making sure there's enough at-bats for your closers in the future, right? And obviously, number 5 is having closers. I don't recommend you outsourcing your sales. I don't recommend you hiring a sales agency to go get recruitment done and pay, I don't know, $12,000 a month to get some recruitment done. And they'll quote unquote train and teach sales to everybody. Guess what? You can do the same. You just have to spend time with them, help them understand what they're selling, what the offers are, what are the parameters of it. As long as they have enough volume, you're going to put them at a pretty good chance. right? And 2 or 3 of those closers in the agency world will probably equate out to what you would do. Okay, so hopefully you guys got a ton out of this. What I want to do is invite all of you. Let me unping myself. Let me see, remove pin. Okay, cool. Christian, let's go with Christian first. Christian Altuve.
Hey, Paulson. This is really, really helpful. And currently, I'm agency service, $12.97 a month offer in the dance studio niche. We just hit our 20K per month mark
Okay.
last week. And I also just hired a full-time dedicated VA to start teaching, showing him the ropes on our funnel setup, ad setup, and all that stuff. But after listening to you today, and now I'm like, did I bring this on too soon? Because I'm getting ClickUp set up for the first time. I have like my campaign set up. I'm refining the SOPs, and it's been helpful to take someone through the process and learn where there's gaps and where I need to update it. But I'm into week 2, and I'm like realizing, oh man, I don't have enough to keep this person busy all the time. And I have a partner. I'm fulfillment. I have a partner doing sales. We're generating about 4 to 5 strategy calls per week. And our goal is to get to 50K by the end of the year. So that's like an analysis. I guess my question is, did I hire too soon? Like, and where really should I be feeling the pain thresholds before I change my focus?
Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, Christian, congrats to where you are. Most people don't make it this far. Let's take a pause, give Christian a big clap of hand, because to get to 20K, it's a nightmare of a process. Let's just say it. That didn't happen overnight.
Thanks.
Now, the question is, did I hire a ad buyer too early? But before I go there, let me ask you a few questions to make sure I don't give you the wrong information.
Sure.
How is the 20K divided? How many clients are responsible for 20K? Where is the diversification of your book of business?
I'd say we're at 20 clients.
So you're at 20 clients, which is great, because guess what? 20 clients at $1,000 a month equates to 20K a month, which means you're not going to be too volatile, right? Mm-hmm. My old agency, I was selling 4K packages. 5 clients would have got me to 20K, but guess what? I'm not going to feel the confidence to go jump in and hire anybody, because as soon as somebody drops off, I'm kind of screwed, right? So it's important that your book of business is a bit more diversified before you can make these decisions.
Okay.
Now, you yourself, are you a salesperson in the business, or are you more of a tech-oriented person?
Tech-oriented. My partner does sales.
Okay, so your partner, how busy is his calendar on sales?
Maybe 60% full.
Okay, so does that mean he has 6 appointments a day?
No, that means we have 6 per week, and there's some other time spent in our Facebook group, which is where we're getting a lot of our organic leads there, but no, we're not at 6 per day.
Yeah. So your biggest problem that you need to solve right now is the volume on sales, right? Because you don't have the need to, like, you're a pillar 1 because that's confirmed. There's enough people wanting your service, you hit 20K, right? That gives me enough proof in the pudding to say, even if all of my services are not needed, something is working somewhere based on the market. You want to go back to those customers and ask them why they purchased. Ask them if they're happy with it, which is a scary thing to do because they may drop off because you brought it up. But deal with that scenario and understand how to level that up. Either way, the second thing is figuring out I'm forgetting myself. The second thing is figuring out your process, right? So who do you have in the fulfillment component? How many people are there?
Just me, and as of last week, a virtual assistant.
Okay, cool. The role of the virtual assistant is what?
I want him to replace me. So setting up high-level funnels, creating ads, and setting up the campaigns, an ad manager.
Okay, so let's say that you said they started last week?
Yep.
So give them 2 months before you can depend on that person to really go solo, right?
Yeah.
But once they do, can you remove yourself from that process?
From the button pushing, yes, but not from being client facing.
Okay, so guess what you're gonna have to do? Instead of being the ad buyer and the technical setup guy, you're gonna go into project management.
Okay.
Not account management, but project management.
Okay.
What it does is helps you keep track of all your customers, figure out where they are, how happy they are. And imagine it this way: you want to prepare all the ammo for your account managers to go to battle in customer success after they've onboarded, right? Your customer is going to come back and be like, hey, Christian, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this. That's going to happen. So your account managers have to have enough ammo that says, we did what we promised. Here's why this is happening. They shouldn't be running around finding Facebook ads results. They shouldn't be running around finding reports. Those are all things that project managers, like, they should be throwing alley-oops over there, and account managers are slam dunking. That's the mentality you have to go into. So right now, the SOPs that you have to build out is for the project manager.
Okay, cool.
Right. But more importantly, guess what? Like, you don't need any more fulfillment than what you already have. There's no need to like perfect the fulfillment, because the next mark that you're about to break through is probably that 60K mark. At that point, like, you're going to have a different set of SOPs, different dynamic of a team. You're going to have possibly your project manager ironed out, your current team member that's kind of a system integrations person, right?
Yeah.
And do you guys do Facebook ads or whatever?
Facebook, Facebook ads.
Who's running those ads?
That's me right now.
Okay, so
I'm doing everything.
Okay. So you have to figure out where that's going to give away, and that's why I ask. If you onboarded 10 people today, what would your world of business look like, right?
Yeah.
And either you look at it as a challenge, or you can completely get stressed out about it and figure out where do you need help. But remember that you're building these processes to remove yourself, not assist yourself. Meaning, like, the VA that you brought in, they shouldn't be put in a place as if they're like an executive assistant. They should be put in a place where they're completely replacing your job. They should have decision-making power. They should have competency and standards that you've leveled them up with, right?
Okay.
Where you can essentially just treat them as a full-time person, right?
Yeah.
You don't want 5 assistants at the end of the day, and you're still handling all of it.
Right. Right.
So think of it in that sense. Did I help?
Yeah. You really helped me on what I need to train that person up to become, and then where I need to focus what I'm building. And so when you say focus on project management, not fulfillment processes, where's the line, and like, how do you differentiate that?
Yeah. One is finding the information. The other is analyzing the information, right? So like, let's say I come into your business as an account manager, Christian, you tell me you have 20 customers.
Okay.
What is happening with those 20 customers? What should I tell them? I'm going to jump on a call with them today, all 20 of them today. Where do I find information about your business and what happened to them?
Gotcha. So
that's what the account manager wants.
Got it. Okay.
Project managers are going to be like, okay, cool. Here's a Google Drive with 20 files. Here's a temperature report on every single one of them. Here's what we sold them. Here are the happy ones. Here's what we can upsell them. Okay. Managers are salespeople. They are focused on expansion revenue, right?
That makes sense. Okay.
They're just internal. But that's the way I would look at it.
Awesome. That's very helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Who's next? I got about 10 minutes before we can keep going. Let me look at who. Raise your hand on the emoji or unmute yourself, and we can go through the next round of Q&A here. Any brave volunteers? No, I guess nobody wants to break through 100K anytime soon.
I have a question.
Hey,
Paulson.
How are you?
Here. Good. So this is more about how to create like consistent content. So basically I'm creating like a marketing show, and I feel like that's the best place that I can focus and maximize results from for this brand.
When you say
So
marketing show, what does that mean?
a marketing show. So basically, we empower business owners, local businesses to get more customers, serve more people in their communities, make more money, spend more time with their families without having to deal with all the techie marketing bullshit that they don't want to do. Right. So that's and basically like the Go High Level is a big component of that, showing them how to leverage software and automation, and basically just teaching them the tips and tricks and the secrets to market their business effectively. So that's where yeah, I actually just started the show like today. So I'm excited for that. But
Nice.
yeah,
If we took your show and threw it into a Netflix category, what category would it be in?
probably what category? Maybe drama was the first one that came to mind.
Survivor.
It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be exciting. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So it's going to be a bit more broader. It's not going to be too techy and things like that.
No,
What-
definitely not.
So if I were to measure the success of that show, what is the KPI that you will hit?
10,000 subscribers in the first 3 months.
But what would
Viewership.
that hit though? When it comes to sales, what would that hit?
I don't really know. I hope 1% of the viewers at least will buy something. Go High Level, affiliate products, softwares that we use, our own marketing softwares, and leads that we, in the verticals that we operate in, the industries that we work with. So maybe 1% will convert into customers, but this is really the top of the funnel activity that I want to focus on to build to even put myself in the context, or to open myself up to the possibilities of new business opportunities, partners, all that type of stuff.
Here's what I do like, Christian, about a show. Content creation is actually very easy when you look at it this way, right? Because guess what? You've scheduled yourself in. Now you don't have a choice because you've already published that you're going to do this thing, right? So you kind of prison yourself into this model of scheduled, events, public events, right? Okay. So you can't just randomly cancel. There's viewers involved. So guess what? You force yourself to create the content. That content could be repurposed into audio files, podcast, YouTube videos. If you throw up a Facebook group or whatever, like your content game will just be really strong everywhere based on the brand. I would recommend making sure that you divert your entire viewership into the offers that you have, right? If you listen to radio, right, every single radio, every 3 minutes they're throwing out offers. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like it's like they don't even care. They don't care about what you think or nothing. So at the bottom of your intros and extras and whatever, it should say XYZ agency or CRM or whatever. Make sure you jump in for a audit report for your business. It's completely free to your audience. Like if you're a viewer and subscribed, you get a free audit to your business. Now you can measure and say, you know what? 100 people that watches an episode should turn into about 10 to 15 audits.
Okay.
Right? Now those audits could turn into 5 or 6 appointments. So now what do you have to do? Drive your traffic up to more than what you had on the viewership of 10 to 100 views, right? So you need to look at it very mathematically. Like I'm not a big fan of just like, oh, let me just do this branding thing because it's great. Like, no, even branding thing has to have some kind of a measuring stick that says, okay, if we did this, this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
But key is sales and the volume in sales, even now. But creating a show is a great idea. I don't think that's a bad thing. Do you know if your audience is show friendly? Like, do they absorb content online?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the type of people that I want to attract. The people who are self-learners, self-motivated, do right by their customer. Like those are the types of people I want to view my content and to get my my help and my services. And I do this on a day-to-day. I interact with clients on a regular basis. I work with the Small Business Administration. So I'm constantly talking to local small businesses, and I get the same problems, the same questions, the same things from all these different guys and girls in all these different industries. And it's like, I just want a place that I can point to and say, hey, check out this, we talk about exactly this issue, and you can learn,
And I promise you, even at bigger scales, it's the same thing. $100 million business is very similar to another $100 million business and the problems they have. The type of leadership they have to build, the infrastructure, the budgeting, the financial forecasting, like the hiring strategies, it's all the same. It's not drastically different. Like we're a unicorn of the CRM industry. Some of the things that we do is a little different, but if you look at the traditional SaaS CRM businesses, they're all very similar in the levels that they go through. So yeah, the local businesses do deal with the same type of problems at a smaller level, but yeah, but definitely have a target on the viewership. Like, hey, this show is perfect for XYZ person. If you watch the show, you will get access to XYZ thing. And also, like Josh Nelson style, like throw in a tangible item that they can physically hold, right? Like make sure you sign up for our newsletter that you can get a monthly mail from. Like giving them some kind of a real business experience is like a clever way to go about it. But this is not the only thing, right? Don't think this is going to replace your sales activities. This is only complement your real sales activities.
Yeah, and this is why I'm doing this now, because I feel like I have a good flow of ads, appointment setters, and then I'm starting to hire on salespeople as well to take to really just remove myself from that process so I can focus on other things in the business. And that's why I feel like this is a perfect place to put my energy in, to like grow and see over a consistent amount of time. My question real quick, Paulson, before we wrap up, and I appreciate you going a little over here. Would you suggest or recommend doing a group community in conjunction with this show or no? Okay.
100% no. The only reason you would do a group setting is if your customers can teach customers.
Okay.
Right? Like if you look at high level, guess what? You can go to the high level group and you can learn from other high levelers. We're at that point where we don't have to train or sell our businesses anymore, right? So after that 100K mark, when you get closer to that 200K mark, and if there's enough play at a PR level, like, you know what, it makes sense for us to play that game of creating a community, then yeah, at that point, you can do that. And guess what? By then you have enough of a customer base that you can throw them in there and they become, they teach the prospects while they're in there. You're leveraging your book of business to actually prospect. But I would do that close to the 200K a month mark. Not, it's going to be a distraction at this point.
I agree with that. I agree. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Paul.
Okay. Awesome. Good seeing you again. Let's go with Naeem Cohen, I believe. Naeem, are you there? And I'll take one more question after this, guys. And let me just double check.
Hey, what's up, Olsen? Thanks for dropping all the gems and value. So I've been on this agency path for a while now, taking in a lot of knowledge and things and tested up and whatnot. Just a little bit of context to my question here. So I am one-man team, one-man show. I am launching, I'm pretty much in like a beta launch stage. When I'm selling, so my agency focuses on chatbots, and pretty much what we're doing is offering a done for you list building product, as well as we'll help you build out your list. We'll help you build out your list, build up your engagement, and all of this is through chatbots. So my first niche that I was focusing on was Instagram influencers, large Instagram influencers, anywhere with 10,000 followers and up. I've been doing organically outreach on Instagram. It hasn't been going well, so I'm just trying to figure out if I should switch the niche over to e-commerce. So I just need some a little bit more insight on that and how I should be positioning to get my first couple of clients. The price point is going to be $1,000 a month to build out the chat box and also do the list management.
So what industry are you focused on?
Right now, I'm focusing on the Instagram influencer industry. I was reaching out to
that's not really an
giveaway pages.
I'm sorry, that's not really an industry to me. That's just where they hang out.
Okay. Got you. Okay.
Right. To me, an industry is like plumbers, right? Like or like dental, dentists or chiropractors, or even if they're Instagram influencers. Let's say that is what you want to focus on. You want to focus on a certain type of Instagram influencers, like
right. That makes sense.
Fitness oriented Instagram influencers, med spa oriented Instagram influencers, car, enthusiasts that are on Instagram, sports people that are on Instagram. Like they all do, fashion is another one, right? But you need to go down
Right.
further and say, you know what, I'm gonna focus on a certain type of Instagram influencer, and then also figure out why do they want your service? Why would they want that?
Got you. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's probably where I would focus on. Why was e-commerce a choice for you?
E-commerce was a choice for me because I know that specifically with the software I'm using, there's a lot of big advantages when it comes to the e-commerce market.
Okay.
So that's why I was focused on e-commerce. And when you're looking at Instagram, the e-commerce brands that I've been looking at, it's more easier to implement the strategies and everything that I'm using for e-commerce brand. I mean, it would be easier to implement it in any niche because it works in any niche. What we're basically doing is just getting the followers that they already have. We're just getting them more. We're just getting all of their followers into a way that they can have control and they can reach them. Because with organic and the audience reach, you're probably only reaching 1 or 3% of your follower base. So
yeah, I mean,
that's our approach.
Yeah, I mean, so what you're offering is audience building for Instagram influencers, is that right?
Yes, more organized audience building.
Okay, got it.
And an omnipresent, because once we get them off of Instagram into the email and SMS list, we'll also be building up messengers, DM subscribers as well, so we can reach them from multiple places.
Okay. So what you want to do is do a beta of maybe 2 or 3 Instagram influencers and build out your case studies, right?
Gotcha.
The first thing, like I asked this question right here, right? Is this happening in your agency? Right? I'm sharing my screen now. Case studies.
Yeah.
If you don't have case studies, it's hard to generate leads. A lot of people are trying to skip over the case studies and go straight to leads and just explain what you do. Guess what? Your audience will not resonate with you, even if they purchase from you. They're only purchasing the service because of you, not even because of the service or the product, right? So I would definitely say put together a case study, get a couple of influencers in there that you want to possibly work with, and build out a few case studies.